new Mr. X gameplay trailer that just came out for the Video Game Awards, or TGA 2018, we got to see some terrifying new aspects to this new Resident Evil 2 remake version of the Tyrant, where we see Mr. X stalk Claire Redfield throughout the RPD station, sending us fear from a Tyrant that we haven't seen since Nemesis from Resident Evil 3. So today's video, I was inspired to make a quick rundown on what the differences and similarities is with the classic version of Mr. X to his new Resident Evil 2 remakes version, where we cover aspects like, for example, how we encounter him throughout the RPD station, to his interactions with the player, to his overall feel during his boss battle occurrences. But anyways, if you guys want to see a quick analysis of the new Resident Evil 2 remake version of Mr. X, please feel free to check out my video that I made just recently so you guys have a good overall feel for him and see what he's all about. I'll leave a card at the top right section of your screen so you guys can check it out. But before we start with our boss battles with this Tyrant, let's quickly go over who Mr. X is and how he came to be. So Mr. X is one of the Tyrants created from a series of T-103 model Tyrants that was sent to Raccoon City to eliminate any remaining survivors in the Raccoon City Police Department. With the original Resident Evil 2, here is showcasing us our first glimpse of Mr. X being airlifted right above the RPD station, but soon after that, we see him deployed into one of the hallways on the second floor of the police department. Initially, I wondered who this humanoid character was at the beginning, because so far after playing Resident Evil 2 on Scenario A, our only main baddie at this time was William Birkin and dealing with his many G mutations. So with our initial impression of Mr. X, we finally get to see our first in-game encounter with him. Similar as his new RE2 remake counterpart, here Mr. X is sporting his loud and creeping footsteps coming closer and closer to you, with both versions of Resident Evil 2 highlighting the overall stature of this behemoth, and Mr. X is in full display sporting his iconic trenchcoat limiter. But similarities aside, our first look at Mr. X is much different in terms of environment and overall feel, as we see him in the original RE2 where he walks around the corner of the hallway to finally reveal this massive Tyrant, where we compare this to the new remakes version where we see him move a large portion of a crashed helicopter, which emphasizes his brute strength. Even the environment itself is much different between the classic and the new remakes, because here in the new version, we're already put in the already cramped hallways of the RPD station, but now we're also surrounded by darkness in contrast to its original version. From all the gameplay so far that I've seen with Mr. X, I've yet to see him completely down unconsciously by the player. So for us to see all the footage that they've shown us so far, we can only elaborate on those portions of Mr. X's encounters. But back to the point, in the original version we can fight off Mr. X like we did in the remake, but here we get a chance to down him where he's unconscious if we spray enough bullets in him, and once he's laying on the floor, we can pick up extra ammo from him. So far, we can see both original and remakes version of Mr. X is pretty resistant to a lot of our weapons, as showcased here with Claire Redfield spraying him with both her submachine gun and grenade launcher rounds. But there was one weakness that was revealed during some of Ada Wong's gameplay that wasn't in the original version of RE2, and that was we can shoot Mr. X on the face and we can clearly see a moment of hesitation from the Tyrant. This is obviously only made possible due to the new remake's over-the-shoulder aspect compared to its predecessor where we fight Mr. X in a fixed camera angle style of gameplay. There's good news for us players in the new RE2 remake, because now we can have a little relief that we've found the Tyrant's Achilles heel. So it makes me wonder if we do completely down Mr. X unconscious in the new RE2 remake, that we'll be able to pick up extra ammo like we did from the original version. But anyway, the next aspect that Mr. X pioneered from the classic version was the ongoing pursuit of the player throughout the game, where we see him pop into hallways in the most opportune time, with the only warning from him is usually the terrifying soundtrack that plays in the background and the thudding footsteps that he produces. In one case, we see him climb on the side rail of the third floor of the RPD station to remind this place that regardless of how far we are, we can always expect him to be just around the corner. This aspect of Mr. X is fully fleshed out in the new Resident Evil 2 remakes version, because we can see Mr. X is unhindered by the many doors or stairs in the RPD station, showing to us that we can never feel safe at any given point during our playthrough. We can run as far as we can, but seeing this Tyrant continue to march on and opening doorways in his never-ending pursuit of us players is terrifying as heck. The only other time I felt this dread from a Tyrant was from Nemesis in Resident Evil 3, with his countless encounters in pursuit of the player, never having a boundary that would stop him from killing Jill and the other STARS members. But anyways, Mr. X's pursuit of the player in the original Resident Evil 2 wasn't just limited to him following you throughout the hallways. He can even break through walls in his attempts to catch you. He not only did this once, but twice in a short span, further emphasizing to us players that we are never safe, even if there are walls around us. I really do hope that they add this mechanic to Mr. X in the new RE2 Remakes version, because that would clearly put him over the top and add so much to the horror element that we the players have been craving for from a Resident Evil title. But one last difference with Mr. X in this new RE2 Remakes version was his overall speed and aggressiveness compared to his original RE2 counterpart, because here in the new remake we can clearly see him get faster and faster as he gets closer to us. We can also see that zombies in his way aren't a deterrent from him from catching up to you. His aggressiveness is in full view when he's able to catch you and choke slam you to the floor like it was nothing. It even gets better when we see him catch up to you and hold you by the head, where he's able to keep you suspended for a while, similar as Nemesis did to Brad from Resident Evil 3. But it seems like there's a couple of outcomes depending on our inventory, where Mr. X will either drop you if you stab him with a knife, but the latter shows if we don't have the necessary tools, we might end up like this. From all the footage from the TGA 2018 gameplay trailer that we've seen so far, we've been treated to a variety of Mr. X's new gameplay mechanics, clearly taking a lot of aspects from the classic Resident Evil 2's version of Mr. X and expanding it to a whole different level. Only time will tell on how Mr. X behaves in the later portions of the game in the new Resident Evil 2 remake. We may be able to see him break a camera like he did in the original RE2, follow you all the way to the Umbrella secret lab, and show his full transformation in our final encounter with him. With the game's release just a month away, there are countless possibilities to Mr. X's overall gameplay. We can safely assume that the new Resident Evil 2 Remakes version will follow a very similar path to its predecessors, but with the trends of gameplay that we've seen so far, it's only a logical conclusion that we're going to get a lot of additions and surprises to Mr. X. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching my video of the differences and similarities of Mr. X from the classic Resident Evil 2 and the new Resident Evil 2 remake. If you guys enjoyed my content, please don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, but while you're at it, let me know in the comment section down below of what you expect from Mr. X and what you want to see from him in the future. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching my video. Please stay tuned for more Resident Evil content from my channel in the future. But anyways, you guys have a great day, and this is Hey DeVuH signing out.